Grace and Frankie is over, but Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are not done working together yet. Now in theaters is Moving On.
Yes, let's hope that their friendship and their collaboration lasts forever, because they just make everything better when they are together, including this movie.
Evelyn, I need to talk to you.
About what?
I told him I was going to kill him.
I could chat.
Written and directed by Paul Weitz, best known for like About a Boy, a really eclectic filmography, right?
Yes.
Between like American Pie and About a Boy and like Bel Canto.
Yeah, one of the I always get him and his brother confused.
Right.
One of them did a Twilight movie, but Paul previously did. He wrote and directed Grandma for Lily Tomlin.
Right. He did In Good Company. Anyway, it's a very eclectic filmography here, but he wrote and directed this, and it stars Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin as longtime friends who have just lost touch, like no huge falling out, but now they're around 80 and they have to reunite when their third mutual best friend dies. They show up in California for her funeral, and Jane Fonda's character, Evelyn or Evie, wants to confront the friend's widow, played by Malcolm McDowell. This is not a spoiler. This happens very, very early on in the movie because he sexually assaulted her 45, 46 years ago when they were all younger. Now that the wife is dead, now that their friend is dead, she wants to get her revenge. It's a very tricky balancing act that goes on here tonally, and I don't know that it always works. I feel like Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin together, they always work, and their rapport is so authentic and so natural and so easy. They have this down by now. You know, Lily Tomlin with just the dry delivery is just perfect every time, and Jane Fonda here is a little more flustered, understandably, but it's a rape revenge comedy, but it's also a rape revenge film rather, but it's also a comedy about old friends and, you know, what kind of life do you have now when you're 80 and what kind of regrets do you have? Jane Fonda has some really lovely moments with Richard Roundtree, who plays her first ex-husband, and the kind of regrets that she has about that relationship and how that fell apart. So there are some really sweet moments here, some really funny moments here, but also some kind of tonally wonky ones.
Yeah, it left me wanting much more because this is like an 85 minute movie. It zips past. Yeah. And I feel like there's so much more that needs to be unpacked to tell this story. And so I think they're kind of rushing through it in a way. Yeah, as you said, like it's flirting with these very sort of serious topics. This woman who, not only is a sexual assault victim, but clearly like it has colored her entire life. It has affected her friendships. It's affected her relationships, in the way that you women often will talk about that it just like throws everything off, especially when you aren't able to discuss it with other people, when you aren't able to take therapeutic measures. You could make a really dark comedy out of this. You could make a really focused, drama or character study out of this. And the movie gives you like a little taste of all of those things, but it just doesn't fully follow up on any of them. And so I admire what they're going for here. And yes, this cast is great and is like making a meal out of every moment that they can. But the movie itself just feels sort of slight, and it feels like it's like a long trailer for a limited series or something, or at least of a longer movie that would really kind of flesh out all of what's kind of being hinted at here. So I don't know. It left me kind of cold, and I was really disappointed because I loved Grandma so much. Like that was on my top 10 list that year. I thought it was such a great vehicle for Tomlin, and really allowed different actors to do things you don't usually get to see them do. And it gave you this sense of who this person was, even though the film was only set over the course of one day and was also pretty short, if memory serves. I'm a big Grace and Frankie fan. It's fun to watch these actresses play characters that are quite different from those roles, from who they play in 80 for Brady. Like they still have so many different colors in their paint box, and they can capture so many different kinds of people. But I just wish the movie gave them more to run with and gave this story its due, Right.
And then also it has these shadings of 9 to 5. Like it's not aping it, but the dynamic of Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda getting together and like fumbling their way
trying to commit a crime,
trying
and they don't
to
know what
murder
they're doing,
somebody, right? Trying to kill somebody who is like a sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot. You know, it's essentially that same kind of character. Malcolm McDowell is a total prick in this, and he completely gaslights her, and that's infuriating, you know. And so you can see why she would want to get her revenge on him for sure. But yeah, I love the two of them together, and thank God this exists though after 80 for Brady.
Yes,
a palate cleanser
for sure. Yes, I definitely am glad to have this coming after it. But yeah, I almost feel like you know, either shorten this and make it like an episode of anthology television, or make it longer and make a real movie out of it. But as it is, I think it kind of exists in this middle ground where it's not quite enough of anything.
And Richard Roundtree also, like that whole subplot, I would like to have seen more of. Like,
absolutely,
the production design in that segment alone is like this rad mid-century house on the hill overlooking Los Angeles, and like they have such lovely, warm chemistry with each other. Like, I would have liked more of that.
Barbarella meets Shaft. Who doesn't want more of that?
That occurred to me, but that's perfect. Yes, and they hit every note of that so gracefully, like. You can imagine, like, those feelings are still there, but they're a little bit tentative about how to express them, and it all works.
One thing I'll definitely say for this and Grandma is I think they are rare cases of movies that treat senior characters as human beings with agency and with personalities, and they don't reduce them to these sort of like kind of cutesy nursing home stereotypes the way, you know, the mass culture often does.
Right. There's a Viagra reference, but it's not what you expect it would be.
Exactly.
Like they get into that to upend your expectations of what like, that might be.
The person who's constantly dozing off at the nursing home is actually the young guy working the desk.
So I'm saying 6.
I'm close to you. I said 5.8. I really had higher hopes and wanted more out of it, but you know, what's there is not terrible. It's just, there just needs to be more there.